Well, if you've been watching The Last Dance on ESPN, which just about everybody in Chicago is, and most of the country, you're seeing two very familiar faces. Young, dapper sportscasters Mark Giangreco and Jim Rose. Not only are they watching the docuseries now, but they lived it firsthand. I had a chance to talk to my friends and former sports colleagues.
Tonight, when the Chicago Bulls take on the Atlanta Hawks here at the Georgia Dome, close to 63,000 fans will be in attendance. It'll be the largest crowd in NBA history.
Scotty listening to his son sink a free throw there.
Yeah,
hey,
right.
From the sound of the Pacers, looks like they're going to be setting pics on you out in the parking lot.
Well, Mark, first off, what's it like looking back at those old clips of you?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, 25 years, I got a lot of city miles on me, man. It's fantastic. It's, you know, everybody in this town who covered that team is watching The Last Dance to get a little shot of themselves.
The first thing I thought of when I first saw that clip outside the old Chicago Stadium, I said, wow, I had a whole lot of hair back then. I had one of those huge afros. But it was a lot of fun to see it because, as you mentioned, I did live through a lot of it.
When you're in the midst of that, in the moment, you're really not thinking about how cool this is. It's like, oh man, we got to do this. We got to get to the press conference. We got to shoot practice. We can't get beat on any stories. We got to try to get an exclusive. Bam, bam, we've got 10 live shots. And, you know, and you're cranking out all the material. It's not until about 22 years later you go, wow, that was a privilege, that was an honor, and we made the most of it. It was really cool.
So what should we color you tonight?
I don't know, brother. You can color me whatever you want to color me. Just make sure I'm looking good, looking pretty.
Now, Mark Giangreco was at NBC at that time. You were at ABC. Yeah. Was there any rivalry between you guys back in those days?
Absolutely, there was. But because Mark was doing the 10 o'clock as he's doing at Channel 7 now, he never got a chance to go to many of the games or go, you know, on the road trips or anything like that. And the year before we won the championship, I did 25 road games. So I would be live outside of, inside the locker room with Michael at the top of our 10 o'clock news. And so whenever Mark would come on the road, we would always, you know, joke, hey, you finally decided to show up, huh? And, you know, it was all in good fun.
It was viciously competitive, Brian. I mean, general managers and news directors back then expected you to be breaking stories every day. You couldn't fall back on social media or anything else. You had to generate that stuff yourself. You had to enterprise stories. There was always the physical jockeying for position at the lockers, and it got nasty. People were pushing and shoving. Jim and I got into it after a Bears game in the locker room, and we were going to start swinging. We're going outside. And Richard Dent goes, I got $100 on JR. And Mongo says, I'll take the little Italian guy. And so, you know, we went outside and talked it out and said, we're making fools out of ourselves. We shook hands and moved on.
We had a pretty good rivalry going on. We were all looking to top each other.
I tell people that, you know, Anchorman was not a comedy. It was a documentary.
Rule number 1, no touching of the hair or face.
Speaking of rivalries, we're going to see a lot more of that between Bulls players and management and head coach Phil Jackson. The Last Dance is already the most watched documentary in ESPN history.
Do you ever think about that your great-grandchildren are going to be able to watch this stuff with Michael Jordan and say, oh my God, that's my great-grandfather? I mean, this is going to be around long after we're gone.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that, you know, it's there for posterity and it's always going to be there. And, you know, when you and I worked together, when you worked in Denver and everywhere else, it's those split-second moments with an iconic athlete that, you know, you lose track in the timetable, but it's always stuck in your brain. So it's nice to have that video backup.
But it was a lot of fun to watch it and to know from whence they came in 1984 when they got Michael to when they finally won their championship, as depicted in the poster behind me. This is June 11th, 1991 at the Forum. And the only reason why I have this as one of the only pieces of sports memorabilia is because Michael, John, Scotty, Horace, and Bill all signed it for me. It took about a year and a half to get that done. But it's a priceless memento of me interviewing them after they won their first championship.
Just trying to get through the game and doing your job and not try to overdo things. And when I step out there, I expect to do my job.
JR has a picture of the championship team hanging in his house that he showed me. Yeah. Do you have any memorabilia that you treasure?
I have so much memorabilia. I have a game-worn Michael Jordan jersey that's signed. I have an NBA basketball practice worn that Michael had signed. I have all kinds of memorabilia. I have no idea where it is because my kids have it. And I think I lost all that in the divorce too. You know, it's spread out all over the country. I don't know where that stuff is.
At least he can laugh about it. Big thanks to Mark Giangreco and Jim Rose. You can catch The Last Dance on ESPN at 8 o'clock on Sunday nights.